Hey, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 57. Got Big Box Steve on the mic. Of course, the Big Smooth and Fresh Wes. Got the whole crew tonight. Going to be talking a little bit about March Madness wrap up, championship game, any other cool things to talk about in that. And then special treat for you tonight. We're going to get into some of the best sports movies out there. So we're going to give you top five. Um, with a little interesting twist, only one from each sport. So if you think there's two football movies in your top five, we couldn't add it because we couldn't have two football as an example. So uh love to hear comments on this, any thoughts on our picks, and we'll get into that after we talk about this. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave those comments. And if you are listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, thanks for listening and appreciate your support. So let's get into it. Talking about the national championship game. So first foremost, of course, got to give Derek his props. Winning the HSC bracket on the coattails of UConn. But I mean, you got UConn going to the championship game. Obviously, they won the game. That didn't help you, but just getting there.
Yeah.
So we got to give Derek his credit where credit is due. Um, it's interesting just to talk about that for a second. Is you know, I remember when I was thinking about UConn. I focused too much on that middle, skid that they had when I was thinking about them getting to the finals or getting the championship, not thinking about how highly rated they were and how they finished the season. And I think that was quite honestly probably the downfall of a lot of people when they looked at UConn.
Well, and you look at it and they're like, oh, if you don't know anything, and you're like, oh, they're four seed, right? So they can't be that good. So, but there's only been 5 times in the history of the tournament that a team has gone through the whole tourney and won by double digits in each game.
Yeah, I think UConn
It's
was one of them, right?
right. Yes.
And a Carolina team. Who was the other team?
Well, probably UNLV.
Yeah. I
Well,
know
let's see.
Carolina did it, and I know UConn did it. This is UConn's second time doing it, and Carolina did it once. Um, but they definitely dominated all their games. So Wes, what do you think of the championship game?
Depressing.
Was
Pretty
it
much.
was a little anticlimactic?
Just, you know, my uncle went to San Diego State. My mom went to San Diego State. And
Oh,
you
well,
knew, and you knew, and you knew that UConn was going to win. I mean,
right.
it's just San Diego State can't score a point. And so, they were very fortunate to beat Florida. Florida Atlantic should have won that game.
Right.
It's just stupid how they lost that game. So I didn't really give them much of a chance. But they did have a chance. Just they couldn't hit their shots. They would have start hitting their shots, they would have a chance. But
Like you said before, they're just not a scoring team, right? Their team is really defensive based. You look at
yeah,
what their top scorer on the year scored 12 a game, and he really didn't have a very good tournament. I mean, he played that one good game against Florida Atlantic, which
yeah,
pretty much helped them win that game. But other than that, he didn't have a very good tournament. Uh, but yeah, I think when you can't, because you saw them, they cut it a little bit, right? Near the second half, they got it down to like what 8 or 7 or something like that, maybe even 6, and then they just couldn't score. First half, they kept it close for a little bit, but then they couldn't keep up. Going into halftime, UConn stretched the lead, so that lack of scoring really, really hurt them um, overall. Because UConn's defense is pretty solid, as well. So you're going against a team that has solid offense and solid defense. You have to play both sides of the ball as well. So it was definitely to me a pretty disappointing championship game because championship game you kind of hope for a close game, right? You hope for it to be exciting,
mm,
and it just wasn't that fun to watch that game. However, the women's championship game was kind of fun to watch.
Was it? Because we watched it, right?
Oh yeah.
We were like, really?
Really?
What did we say when they kept missing layups? Like, I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's garbage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean,
the whole Caitlin Clark thing is really intriguing now because it's like she's
right.
like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. And we trash talk and all this stuff. It's like, why are you trash talking? Like
That's was the thing is she was trash talking the whole tournament. And LSU before the game, when they were doing their interviews, they were like, we don't like how she's trash talking and disrespectful and da 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 da. So they went into that game and
throttled them,
yeah,
beat them down. Like it was
Well,
a
I mean,
beatdown.
Iowa's not that good. It's just Caitlin Clark. It's not like Iowa's a strong team. LSU is a much deeper team than Iowa as far as good players. So it's not like unless Caitlin Clark went off for 40 again, there's no way they won that game. I mean, that's kind of the same. UConn beating everybody. There's not much chance you could beat them. But yeah, I don't think Iowa had a chance in that game. I mean, it's also interesting how they did make a big deal out of all that after the game. It's like, really, who cares? At first, they're
Oh,
like
back up,
the
back up.
media, yeah,
The
it's just like
media
crazy.
did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The
So
players didn't that
stupid.
much. Even Caitlin Clark was like, whatever, she did what she did. That's fine. It's part of the game. I'm not mad about it. She came to her back and she's like, people shouldn't be giving her a hard time over that. Who cares?
yeah, it's the get off your porch media that was
Right.
giving it a hard time. Like it was like I think Keith Olbermann posted a thing about blah blah blah, and I know we don't like to talk about it, but that's where the whole racism came in because it was like Caitlin Clark was doing the same thing all tournament, and everyone was like, "She's awesome."
Yeah.
And so Reese does it, and it's like, "Oh, she's horrible for the sport."
Well, then Stephen A. Smith, I don't like. I mean, he brought in that to his conversation too,
Yeah,
and it's not like that's the first time he's done that either.
no.
He
But
likes
it is.
to
It's
he
in.
likes to
It
pull
could
race
be a
sometimes.
coincidence or what, but you had Caitlin Clark, who is the darling of the tournament, white girl, and then Reese is the villain.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the other girl punching the girl in the face helped her out any
Yeah,
with that sense either. But I don't think there was any reason for the media, especially, to take it to the lengths that they took it. It's really disappointing to like you had this really good tournament, very competitive. And if Caitlin Clark would have came out and been like, "Oh, that's disrespectful," da 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 da, then maybe you have a story. But she's not even the one bringing it up. She didn't even care. They were slamming her in the post game, and she still didn't care. Like they're up there still talking trash after they won, and Caitlin Clark's still like, "Whatever, like don't bother me." Like let's just play basketball and we'll trash talk the whole time, win or lose. So it was a little disappointing for sure. Um, and I did see a story about now they're trying to. I don't know if you saw the guy on the UConn bench that was waving at the end of the game. Did you see that?
Oh yeah. He was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now then they're trying to bring that up too.
They
They're
tried
like,
to brought the yeah. I
oh,
figured.
where's the classes on this? It's because it's this white boy
Yeah,
can do it too. It's like,
it's
come
so
on, man. Like,
well, that's like at
so
the end of the bench. It wasn't in the game, and who
right.
saw it?
so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the media blows a lot of the stuff out of proportion,
No,
and
they do.
it's
You know
unfortunate.
what it is. This is exactly what it is. If you watch all these shows every morning, they're struggling for stuff to talk about. The reason why they're struggling stuff to talk about, it's not the fact there's not a lot of stuff to talk about. The fact is they are handcuffed. They have to be PC about everything. There's so many things they can't talk about and share their opinion on because they'll get in trouble. And so they're like,
Yeah.
they're finding like 40 different ways to talk about, well, will the Lakers win the title or playing? I'm like, I've seen it 40 freaking times. Like, really? Like, how many more times do you talk about the freaking Lakers? is
Right.
boring. Or
Well,
like,
that's because the Lakers are in LA, and so they're going to get
no,
talked
but
about.
it's not. But they have their own. They have like 3 topics.
No, it's the same
Aaron
stories.
Rodgers,
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, the Lakers. And it's like over and over because there's so many things they can't talk about because if they do, I guarantee you Stephen A. Smith wants to talk about stuff he can't talk about it. He'll get in trouble. I mean,
There's I don't know if you watch the news, but the news is like that too. You know, you watch the news and it's just like the same 5 stories for like 4 hours. You know, I was like, what's going on here?
That's been that
You
way
know?
for years. That's how they get you. They'll be like, "Oh, there's a big storm coming. We're going to talk about it next." Half an hour later, okay, now we'll talk about it. Never mind, it's not really that big.
Yeah, I was watching the news, you know, early morning to, you know, for like 3 or 4 hours. And I was like, you guys have literally been talking about these same things for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, well, that's why ESPN's losing a bunch of their people to Meadowlark Media, podcasts.
Right.
Because they don't have to be under the corporate umbrella. That's where like Levitard goes, and a bunch of them, like the Golics, they all left.
Every day they talk about who's going to be the MVP of the NBA. And it's like, who freaking cares? Like, does anybody actually care? Well, Embiid, like, then Embiid, and then you got Giannis, and it's like Jokic. It's like every day, it's like nobody cares. Why do you think the ratings for the NBA Finals have dropped 50% in the last 30 years? Because they run the league like crap. It's such a shitty league. Like, it's the old tired model. The players don't want to do the 7-game series every round. They're just everyone's tired of it. There's so many things they can do with the NBA. It could be such a great league. But we got to debate on who the MVP. Nobody cares who the MVP is.
Well, you got to understand, what ESPN is, I mean, well, let's say it what it is, right? They're Disney, so there's certain stories that they have to play and certain things that they have to do that based on Disney saying, look, this is the narrative that we want pushed. So, I mean, they're no different than a CNN or a Fox News.
Right.
Fox News and CNN work the same way.
Well. And then Wes, what's the common thing there with the MVP race? Jokic against Embiid.
Right.
What is the driving force?
Well, and then you got guys like what's his name coming out and trying to, and that's what bothers me is like you come out with these like facts that really aren't facts that don't mean anything, and then people start listening to it or trying to play off those. It's like he's trying to talk about the unfairness of the voting and white MVPs versus black MVPs. What's that guy's name?
Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins, yeah.
Oh, and, he goes off on it.
So that's, again, to me, that's that whole, corporate Disney thing, those are the type of stories that they want, and it makes it hard to watch because I just want to hear about the sports, I just want to hear, updates and what's going on and be able to watch highlights. You remember Old Sports Center? What was favorite part of Old Sports Center, man? It was just like top 10, right?
Yeah.
Going and watching the highlights,
Well, it's like they don't even have like NFL primetime really anymore. And that was like the best part,
No, you can get it on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
You got to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not the same people. Like what Derek was saying is a lot of them have gone to podcasts because they can do whatever
Tom
they want.
Jackson, man. You can't just have Chris Berman. You got to have Tom Jackson.
I mean, to be honest with you, I bet, those sports podcasts are getting as much traffic as ESPN.
Oh yeah.
Or more.
Yeah. And no one's ever gonna talk about the real numbers. Right. There's real numbers they're not gonna talk about.
Well, yeah, it's like Lebitard left, and he's probably more popular than anyone on ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah, and ESPN became like a turnover ground for good people for a while there, and now it's like if they lose one person, they lose some of their best,
Well, yeah, what They lost. It was a Pablo Torre just left for Meadowlark. I guarantee when Mina Kimes' contract's up, she's gone.
Right. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, you don't want to start losing those kind of figures either, because that's bringing
They
in
don't want
audience.
to. They don't want to lose Mina Kimes, and
Yeah.
but they're going to. That's what's gonna happen.
But yeah, that's again, you lose audience there with that, and that's what you don't want to do. Different type of audience you normally get through ESPN.
Is there a trend here? Is there like some issue with Disney or something? Like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with Disney? Like,
I'm going to Disney World in 3 weeks. I don't want
Yeah.
that.
Nice.
What's going on here?
there we go.
Right. Derek's gonna be
What
like
is it,
blacklisted.
3 weeks?
Yeah, during the NFL draft, I'll be in Disney.
Oh, don't say that. You're gonna
Disney-
be in Disney
dude.
World for the NFL draft.
Look, Derek, you're gonna get there, then be like, you thought nobody was watching your podcast? Well,
Oh.
Disney is.
Yeah,
God, dude.
going to the Disney jail.
Your pass is doubled. You're cut out.
Me and Steve are gonna go. We're gonna go to Kansas City. We're gonna go to the draft.
This would be a good draft, though. I mean, it'd be a fun one to see. But although I don't know how exciting an in-person draft would be, though. It seems like it's a lot of waiting for a short period of like the announcement and then walking up on stage and okay, now you're waiting.
It takes forever. Went to the NBA draft in '92 because it was in Portland. I had a baseball game at like 7:00. We got there. It was like 4 something. I only got to like the 8th pick.
Right. 3 hours to get 8 picks.
Yeah, it was horrendous.
But it also matters. So the last couple drafts, it would have been cool to go to the Vegas draft because you could, or the one in Nashville or was it Memphis? You could just like go to the bar and watch the draft, and go to another bar and watch the draft. But I think in Kansas City it's indoors. It looks like it's indoors. That would suck. I don't.
Well, then you just go to barbecue, though, right?
Right.
No, I just want to go to the barbecue anyway. I don't care about going. I'll watch it on TV.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
Barbecue.
Yeah, if I'm in Kansas City, I'm not going to the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to barbecue.
You're gonna get some of the best ribs.
We'll go to the bar and watch the draft and have barbecue, but I don't care about physically going there.
Yeah, although I mean, we talked about the draft a lot, so we won't talk about it too much tonight, but still really looking forward to the draft, right? The closer it gets, I think the more interesting it gets as far as the moves that people are going to make. The dynamic of this set of quarterbacks and teams that need quarterbacks, but how does that play against the skill players that aren't quarterbacks? Like how does that affect their draft positions? I think it's an interesting dynamic I haven't seen in a draft in a while.
Oh, the whole thing with Anthony Richardson right now, it's like they're talking about the Colts moving up to get him and all this stuff.
Did you hear the stupidest thing I ever heard was his draft stock dropped because he decided to throw the football to the ceiling?
Yeah, that video. It's hilarious. It's like,
well, really? because he did it on purpose, right? As kind of like a dig, but at the same time, they're like, oh, he shouldn't be messing around on his pro day. Like really?
Yeah.
Like
it doesn't. Honestly, all that matters for him is his interviews. Right.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, I don't think anything matters for him. I think everybody knows what you get when you get him, right? You're getting someone that isn't ready to play right away. You got to build him into the position, but you're going to get the most athletically gifted quarterback in the draft. Like, it's simple.
And I know you said, well, I'm not going to talk too much, but that's why it's like, why are the Colts after him?
Right. I mean, no.
They're desperate.
But it's like they can't
play him right away. Quarterbacks. No one's going to get the top 2 because no one's going to trade. Houston's not going to trade out. Like Carolina's already traded up.
I think Indianapolis made a mistake by letting the Carolina make the trade with Chicago. I think the Colts should have vied more for that. They should have said, you know what? What's your offer? We'll make it better.
Yeah, and they should.
Well, they shouldn't even had to make it even that because they're the 4th pick. So the Bears would be like going down to 4.
Right. I think the Bears wanted to go to 9. I don't think they care about 4 though. I think they're okay dropping even further, but I think it hurt the Colts more because I think the Colts really needed 1 or 2.
Yeah, because I think even the Colts back will take Bryce Young. I mean,
absolutely.
And I think that fits their mentality better than a Stroud.
I think they're fine with either. I think they want Stroud or Young. I think that's what the Colts ultimately need. But we'll see what they do. Maybe they'll make a deal with Houston, and Houston will be like, "Fine, we'll move back for Richardson or Levis."
No, Levis.
I mean, it's not like Houston can't play another year with Davis Mills.
Right.
Well, that's
we talked about this earlier on the thing. It would be smart if the Texans took, either traded back or took Will Anderson.
Oh yeah,
right.
Remember, there are quarterbacks coming out next year.
Yeah, and they've got 2 picks.
Shit. So why, if you're like a little uneasy about Bryce Young, and you don't, it's not that the Texans are such a dysfunctional franchise. Like Bryce Young to the Colts makes total sense, but for the Houston, they'd be like, dude, we're so screwed up. We might as well wait till next year, build up our defense, trade down, get picks, and then we're gonna probably suck this year anyways. And we're probably gonna get,
yeah, you got 2 things.
Someone even better.
That you got DeMeco Ryans coming in, right? He's a defensive mentality guy.
Yeah.
And so maybe he wants to build a good defense. I saw one Texans sports writer, he was saying they may take Tyree Wilson or whatever his name, like the Texas Tech kid, first pick or second pick, for their first pick, and everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. They need this. He's like, no, they don't. They need defense. And Davis Mills, he's adequate, and then next year, then they can go after a rookie quarterback.
Houston's not. It's not like you get a quarter, but you get Bryce Young. You're going to the Super Bowl this year.
No, you're going to playoffs.
This is a complete rebuild project where it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years. So why not get defense, and then next year you got Drake May, you got all the guys coming out next year. Why not just wait?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what they do. That's why I said it's kind of exciting to see what moves teams make, kind of late here as we get closer to that. So let's jump into second part here of the podcast. So we're talking sports movies. It's kind of top 5, I love the top 5 stuff, but the twist is, you can't pick 2 movies out of the same sports genre. And so it really makes you, move through different sports genres and eliminate movies that you may think are a top 5 movie because it's along with another movie in that, and that's the problem I ran into. I don't know about you guys, but as I was starting to think about this, there was a couple of times where I was like, man, you have to eliminate one of these movies, and that's really tough to do, given, what else you're looking at. So I mean, let's keep it where it's at. We're on the topic of football. I imagine we all have a football movie. I mean, I know I have a football movie.
Yeah.
Wes, you have a football movie?
I have a couple.
Well, you can only have one.
I have one.
I know.
Okay, so Derek, why don't you lead us off then? And let's just say, what do you guys want to do? You want to do top 5, like best of worst, or you want to?
How about we do let's do by sport. You want to try that?
Yeah, we'll go with the big sports first, and then if we get to some smaller sports, we can go to those.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just start with football then. So what's your football movie, Derek? The Longest Yard.
Nope.
No? Oh, man. That was going to be my guess.
Well, forgetting the greatest college football movie of all time, The Program.
Oh man. Okay.
Going with the program, the down and out team supposed to be up for contending for a championship. So James Caan's the coach, comes out, recruits heavy, and going into the next season trying to win a championship with all sorts of drama happening. Great movie, great cast, tons of quotes.
Yeah, I love the cast in that movie. What
Even
what's what makes it the best football movie?
I think one is it was around the time we were in high school, so we were playing football, and so I was always like, that was my thinking as a middle linebacker,
Right.
and being out there playing football like that and hitting hard. And I also love it because it was before the now, where they like they had to cut a scene out of the movie because their scene where they were drunk and they were sitting in the middle of the road and cars were driving over them, and they
Right.
had to cut that because some idiot tried that and died. So they had to like
Yeah, it was that was crazy. I mean, think about what year is that made? We're like 13 when that was made.
That had to be
had to be
early 90s.
93.
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah, 93.
I like the program. Always like the program. God, it's hard to put as my best football movie, but it's definitely one of those. I think if you're a football player, if you played football, or if you're a football fan, or you really follow football really close, I think that's a really good movie, right? For the average football fan or somebody who's never played, they might watch that and be like, hmm.
Well,
But
to me though, it's weird as most football films are kind of underwhelming for me.
right.
They are. They
Oh.
they're actually they can make such really good movies or even series, and they're all pretty much not that great.
Well, I was looking at some different ratings of football movies, and I saw one that rated Friday Night Lights the best football movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought about no today. I thought
And I
about
thought
that.
that was
I had
interesting.
no. There. It's up there. I mean, it's just well done.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about, like, this is what we grew up with. That program,
Right.
Varsity Blues. Like,
Yeah.
Varsity Blues isn't terrible. It's actually pretty good.
I love Varsity
because
Blues.
of John Boyd, man.
Yeah.
The tweeter,
Yeah. I
James
just love
Caan's son. I mean,
the whole
that's like
thing there.
if we're doing the Academy Award of football movies, they got some stars. John Boyd kills it in that movie.
Right.
Well, that's just because we wish we would have had a coach like him.
Oh
Yeah, right.
But just the act. I mean, look at John Boyd as an actor.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
legit.
He's pretty good in everything he does, I would
Yeah,
say.
he's good.
So, all right, Wes, what's your top football movie? Let's hear it.
Oh, this is I gotta go with Rudy. I mean,
that was on my list for sure.
I mean, even though it's like it's like even the last Boy Scouts. I mean, come on.
So remember? Tell us what it is that makes Rudy the best football movie, though.
Dude. It's just like because my dad watches it like every day. And I gotta go back there and like turn it off and say, stop watching this movie. And then I just do reverse psychology and he'll be watching it. I go, hey, have you ever seen this movie before? It's called Rudy. he's like, shut up. Oh, I mean, it's Rudy's like me. That's what I should have been. I should have went to like
Walked on at Notre Dame. God dang it. You
walked on
should
at
have
Oregon.
walked on at Notre Dame. Uh,
No, I'm not cool enough to walk on Notre Dame. But Oregon,
yeah.
yeah, probably.
Well, I mean, when you think about Rudy, first of all, it's got a good cast, right? You've got some guys in their early career, which I thought was great, like Vince Vaughn and John Favreau, and and then of course Sean Austin playing Rudy. They it's that underdog story, which everybody loves an underdog story, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it a popular movie. And it's not like, you know, it's an underdog going to a Notre Dame, working at a steel mill, his family's Steelers, and then going to that big school, and so I think people drive for that admiration, or they have the admiration to have that kind of drive, to work that hard to really go after something that you want. And so Rudy was definitely in my top as well. It was one of the last football movies I eliminated as I was crossing off my list. So good one too. I think that's more of an anybody can watch film too, you know. So just as I was down, bad mouthing Disney, um, I'm gonna come back with Remember the Titans. Uh, Remember the Titans for me. It's when you think about it. I mean, there's so much happening in that movie, but as a football player and a football fan, it's great to feel like, man, that's the real brotherhood of football. They're not looking at skin color. They're not looking at all the other stuff that's going on. They're able to block that stuff out in the midst of this racial thing that's happening in their city, but are all around the United States and coming out of, you know, all of that stuff in the late 60s to the 70s. And it's based on a true story. Obviously, there's, embellishments, but also, the story around the story is good too. You've got a lot of twists in it. You've got obviously the injuries and they win the championship. So all these things happening in that movie that really just makes it one of those feel good, but at the same time, like you don't feel good and things are happening. And so that's for me, that gets me in a lot of different areas. I think it's not just about football, but ultimately it is if you want it to be. And
No, it's like there's so many like it's like if this is the Academy Awards, there's so many like nominees, like even Necessary Roughness. Like I mean, there's so many of those movies in any given Sunday. I mean, Lawrence Taylor was in the movie, dude.
yeah,
I mean,
no,
they even got
football was tough.
in the freaking movie, basically playing himself. Like there's
Yeah.
so many
Necessary Roughness had like Ed Too Tall Jones and stuff, and Brian Baldwin in it.
Yeah, the football was a tough one. I mean, obviously we kind of landed on movies that suit us. Like Derek, you're talking about how the program and the hitting and the middle linebacker stuff, and Wes talking about the underdog stuff, and uh, I mean that kind of hits home.
Well, the thing is with football movies, like they always have to show it like these incredible hits and da 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 da, and like, and that's what I like about the program. A lot of it is actually just normal tackling.
Yeah.
Like I mean, any given Sunday, they're like, it's like,
oh yeah, like incredible plays.
Was
and
it
things
Omar
that...
Epps? Remember Omar Epps? I was like, oh dude, it's Derek. What was the guys from Florida State? It was like the same dude. It's like, oh yeah, it was good action in the movie, and like Varsity Blues was impressive too. I was like, this is actually pretty good, you know.
Well, and then funny is we all picked college football movies,
right?
I really wanted to pick Jerry Maguire, but I had to slap myself. I couldn't do that.
I mean,
that's not really a football.
It is. I mean, it was on.
It
I was
kind of
on the
is,
short
but
list. It wasn't on my short list, but it was at least on the list.
It's
You know?
basically the only one that was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it came off the list early just because, you know, it's more, there's a lot more going on
yeah,
in that movie than
you
just football.
completely ruined it for me. If they would have cut that part of it, I'd be cool.
Well, I mean, maybe if you're rating rom-coms, it could be up there.
Yeah.
So football tough. I like those picks though. So we got the program, we got Rudy, we got remember the Titans. Let's go to baseball. I mean, anybody got a baseball movie?
Ugh.
I got a
Baseball
baseball movie.
is actually the toughest
Hmm.
out of
So
all.
so many baseball movies. I think my list was mostly. I think half my list was baseball movies.
Yeah. Baseball, they do so well. That was what I was thinking, like football has some, basketball, very little. But baseball, yeah, I could do a top 10 just in baseball movies as far
Right,
as
and
baseball.
still have movies left over. So, Wes, do you have a baseball on your list?
It's I've never really watched that many baseball movies. I mean, The Natural, of course, but personally, my favorite is Moneyball. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just the fact that I identify with it so much because it's like it's like I'm from that area. I'm from Oakland, and it is the total, and that it's another underdog
yeah.
story. It's just I just like it because it's simple. I mean, Field of Dreams is great, but I just I don't understand it.
But you didn't have a baseball on your top five.
Not really.
Yeah,
I don't really watch baseball.
I
You
mean,
need to
I had
start
a
this.
I had a baseball. I did have a baseball in my top five. Um, which this might surprise you guys because there's a lot of movies that I eliminated that are really good movies, but you know, my favorite baseball movie, or not my favorite, well, I love it, but I also think it's one of the better baseball movies. Is A League of Their Own, and the reason I really love that movie is because it's really shows, even though it's women playing, like it kind of shows like the tougher side of baseball, like what they go through as far as traveling around and how hard the sport is, and then I love Tom Hanks in that movie because he's like he plays that character that doesn't really believe in him at all, but you see him come around throughout the movie. He does a good job there, and then they have some good storylines with the sisters and things like that. But I think it's it shows because based in that World War II time when it gives a thing like what women did for the country at that time. They use baseball as like they're holding the country together, but really it's about the women that were in the factories and doing all the stuff while the men were out fighting the war. Like they kept the country running. They kept baseball running. Which at that time was America's sport. And some people obviously still think of it that, but for sure there's no argument that baseball was it. And so I think it's kind of like they kept the baseball running, they kept the country running. And I think that's a great storyline with a good movie.
I'm just shocked that Wes hasn't seen that many baseball movies because there's a million that, like,
There's so many.
compared to like football and basketball, like baseball has so many.
Yeah.
But for me, and it's kind of like the program, but because there is better baseball movies. But to me, the quintessential baseball movie I watch every year before the start of spring training, it's Major League.
Right.
Major League is, I mean, Corbin Burnson, Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes, uh, Dennis Haysbert as Serrano. So many characters in that. It's the true underdog story. It's about a bunch of guys that the owner tries to get him to lose. She wants to lose, and they go off and they win. They don't win a championship, but they win enough. And that's the other story. It's not like a super like, oh my gosh, we're gonna win the
Yeah,
World
they don't win the
Series.
World Series. It's about just winning a pennant,
Yeah. And then my honorable mention is Bull Durham.
Yeah, I love Bull Durham. Such a classic. Major League was one of the last few on my list as well, and not because it's like Bull Durham and The Natural, like these are classic, baseball movies. Major League was so good because it was a little different than those. It was a fun part of baseball, but at the same time, like these guys going through it, and what you're saying is playing that underdog and wanting to lose, but the cast's just so good in that movie. And you can't tell me every time at the end of the movie when the stadium's finally full and Charlie Sheen comes out and the whole crowd's doing wild thing. You can't sing in it. You can't tell me that like your heart doesn't start beating. Like you've seen this movie 1,000 times, and every time I see it, they start doing that, and like you feel that energy in your body. Like every time I see that movie, I'm like, it's crazy.
Well, when I was playing baseball in high school, I was third baseman, and one of our pitchers, Craig Sopke, every single inning, I would have to go up to him and be like Corbin Burnson and go, I only got one thing to say to you. Strike this, out. And then I'd slam the ball into his glove. Every single inning, I had to do that for him. Like
Nice.
it was like his ritual. There was one inning where I wasn't going to do it, and he's like, "Come on."
Yeah, that's classic.
And then
So
I had to do some research because I thought for you, Steve, and then you'll think I'm crazy. I'd never seen this, but I'd never seen The Sandlot.
yeah, Sandlot was right there. So Sandlot was top three for me. It's because of it's obviously based about baseball, but it's also about kids growing up,
Mm.
and playing out in the Sandlot, and it's a feel good movie, but at the same time, it's fun to watch. It's got some great parts. It's got comedy, it's got drama, it's got all the things. And obviously it's a kids based movie, but I don't know any grown-ups who's ever seen The Sandlot that don't love it. So the one that I would honor mention, and a lot of people haven't seen this, is The Pride of the Yankees. Um, One of my favorites. But you got to be into older movies. You got to understand it's a different time. You
Tearjerker.
know, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like it gets you going at the same time, but also then it's just gives you this crash of, man, how sad is this? But also, it's based on true story. That they keep it really very accurate. Back then, because you're talking about 1940s, and it's hard to watch at some points because you're just like, man.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've never seen Pride of the Yankees, it's something you got to watch. Um, Especially if you like old movies, you'll love that movie. All right, so that's our baseball. I guess we'll go to basketball. You got basketball in your top five. I have a basketball in my top five. Derek, you got a basketball in your top five.
Yep.
Wes, you don't have a basketball in your top five either.
I
No, see,
mean, I
he's
do.
got you got no no
I
baseball,
do.
no
I mean,
basketball in your top
like
five.
it's like dude, there's so much potential to make great basketball movies, and it's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, for me, there's only two basketball movies, pretty much.
Okay. Well, let's hear yours that you have in your top five, and then
Yeah, and then if the one I pick isn't the one you pick, Steve, then you're probably going to pick the other one.
I think you'll be surprised at the one I picked.
Oh, well, mine is White Men Can't Jump.
Oh no, I was gonna pick that. Damn.
Well,
Because there's
I mean,
only a few basketball movies.
yeah, obviously that's in your top of your basketball movies, and that was, I had three left on my list, and that was the first of the three out.
Damn.
So tell us, what makes White Men Can't Jump the best basketball movie.
Well, it's just the great, story of two guys that shouldn't get along and shouldn't play well together and are totally opposite, and then they work well together, and just the banter and everything. Yeah, Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes together. See, Wesley Snipes, he knows how to do sports movies.
Yeah, they really do act well together in that movie. They play off of each other really well. The acting is top notch, I think, between the two of them. The storyline there's some leaves a little bit, that could get a little better, but they do a good job with the basketball part of the storyline. I think I love that part of it. I mean, I love the movie. It's a great movie, but I'm not always in love with the non-basketball stuff.
The Rosie Perez.
Yeah, the Rosie Perez stuff, and
yeah,
because I mean, but it does. There is some truth into that, like, because you're always like, Woody, stop making a stupid mistake. There's truth to us just always making the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
Too, but but overall, obviously, love the movie. So Wes, you think it's also the best basketball movie?
I mean, it's the one I like. I mean, the best. I mean, the only one that really comes to mind is Hoosiers.
Well, I'm sure that was the one Derek was thinking of. So Hoosiers was the second to last off my list. So I had the top three. I had White Men Can't Jump, Hoosiers, and then the movie. I'm going to say, but obviously, White Men Can't Jump was in our era. Like, does that have to do with it as well, Wes? When you think about that movie, is it because we were playing a lot of basketball when that movie was out?
All we did was play basketball. It's ridiculous how much basketball. It's like, why are you playing so much basketball?
Hours.
You get a White Man Can't Jump. Like, I can't jump. I can't dunk. Why am I playing so much basketball?
It's because of that movie.
It probably is.
Playing at midnight, and
playing the ghetto, it's like,
I mean, just even after high school, I'd still go to the gym and play at 24-hour fitness for hours, just playing basketball all day.
No.
But that there is something to be said about when that movie came out. I think also affects our opinion there. So my favorite basketball movie is a Spike Lee joint, and that's He Got Game.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and I've probably seen it 100 times. Spike Lee does such a good job of representing what it is like for some of this young talented players, and the way that they're treated or the mistreated in some senses, and how they're used by whether it be colleges or people in their life or their coaching, or just kind of taking advantage of these kids who are really talented moving through the system. But it also has Denzel in it, and you say Wesley Snipes knows a lot about sports movies, but Denzel he's always good, and he plays like that father figure who, went to jail, and then it shows the corruption inside the system of, getting him out to try to get his son to go to a certain school. And, and that's the kind of stuff that happens in our world, right? I mean, and that's the kind of, you think about corruption at different levels, and you could see them doing that, but you also get a good look at, like, how hard he worked to make his son a great basketball player, and it pushed his son away from him, making him work so hard. And it's just, there's just so much reality in those things. And Spike just does a great job.
I thought about that movie, but the thing is I only saw it once, but I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, it crossed my mind. I was like, that dynamic was when he pushed his son's. It really is a great movie.
There's so many. When you have that many storylines going in a movie, and it's not like storylines where you got to know what's happening. It's just showing the different things happening and how well he portrays it in his screenplay. It's amazing. And yeah, if people out there listening, if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you guys haven't seen it in a while, such a great movie. And then it's got Ray Allen, right? Ray Allen plays the
Yeah,
lead character.
that's
So
right.
he's not an actor; he's just a basketball player, and he's just getting started. But then they got Travis Best and all these other basketball players from that time in the movie playing on his team, playing against him. And obviously they're not large parts, but and then John Turturro plays this coach. I mean, it's just awesome. So such a great movie. So that's my obviously Hoosiers. It was up there. It's real hard because Hoosiers is a great movie. And then White Men Can't Jump was up there for sure. But that's ultimately why I landed on He Got Game.
Not Space Jam 2.
Space Jam 1, maybe, not Space Jam 2.
Space Jam 2.
Oh, man. I like Space Jam, to be honest with you, but it's not like a movie that I'm going to be like, man, you got to see Space
What
Jam.
about Blue Chips, man? Shaq.
I do
Shaq
love Blue
dude.
I do
I love that
Blue
movie
Chips.
just because watching him dunk.
Yeah.
Just dunk. Like, the movie's just about him dunking.
Well, so
and Nick Nolte trying to be Bob Knight.
right.
That's the best part of the movie.
But it also, so Blue Chips also is about like it's a larger storyline of what happens with the athletes and the different recruiting tactics and those things where that's what I was saying. He Got Game has that in there, but also other storylines to hit too. But Blue Chips, that hits that storyline hard.
Yeah.
Like
Penny Hardaway, man.
Yeah.
Throwing
And then the
alleys
random
and
white
Shaq
guy
the
that
whole
doesn't make
time.
it to
That's
the
the
NBA,
movie.
right?
Right. The random white guy, like the Larry Bird of the movie.
Yeah.
Or he's supposed to be the Larry Bird, but yeah, that's I do like Blue Chips. Again, probably just not one of those ones I'm like in my top. It's hard to put that up there with some of those. All right,
Bishop
well,
saves Pittsburgh.
Wes, since you don't have a basketball or a baseball, like what is your next top 5 movie?
Oh, I got to go to golf.
Okay,
Mine's Tin Cup.
Oh, okay, man.
Tin Cup, man.
Tin Cup didn't make the top 5 cut, but it was up there as my golf movie.
Yeah.
So tell us why.
It's freaking Tin Cup, dude. It's the movie that changed Kevin Costner's career. It really is.
More so than Robin Hood or Waterworld.
No.
Or Dances with Wolves.
The wrong
He's
way.
like, nope, Tin Cup.
It's him not being so serious.
Right.
That's what.
Yeah. Right.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but he was. You're right. It's a different role for him for sure.
It was like
he played it well.
Yeah. It's just a simple movie about a dude that's just like the club pro going up against Don Johnson and it's just a fun movie. It's the way golf, and also golf, even back in the 90s, it wasn't really popular.
Right.
It was stuffy. Everyone's like, and he just made it fun.
Yeah, because it's not so serious.
Of course, it was between that and Caddyshack. I mean, I want to put them both in the top five.
Yeah, so I had Caddyshack up there. So when I looked at golf movies, the thing about Tin Cup is it takes away that seriousness of golf, that the illusion, especially back then, of how serious golf was. It wasn't like a fun sport, and Tin Cup is a fun movie when it comes to that, but also it gives that same thing like we talked about before. Like we all make the same mistakes. Like when he's hitting the ball and he can't get over the water, it keeps coming back, going the water. But instead of take a drop, he like keeps hitting it. Like that's me out on the course. I'm like, no, I can make this shot. Like I'm gonna keep hitting till I make the shot, even if I take a 12. And that's so it's relatable in that sense. But also it has the love story of the who's going to get the girl between him and the rich pro, and so you have that part of it. And then of course you've got uh Cheech,
Jeez,
Cheech
man.
Marin, dude, and you gotta love him. I mean, you gotta love him. So there was a lot of that movie that ultimately I picked it over Caddyshack. It didn't make my top 5, but I did pick that as my number 1 golf movie. So I love that movie. Did you have a golf movie, Derek?
No, but I would have said Happy Gilmore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk
Well, is that
not
hockey
being
or is it golf?
stuffy
Good guy,
and fun,
clown.
and all the quotes in that movie.
Oh,
right.
It's.
I mean, it's Happy Gilmore is great, right? But I mean, it's hardcore comedy. It's nothing serious about it.
You got Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, and he's like, I don't care. The funniest part in that movie is when he's like, oh, they wouldn't let me play out in the tour. And he's like, oh, I know, because you're black. And he's like, no, damn alligator bit my hand off. And it's just so
It's so random.
funny.
You're not expecting it.
Oh
Like,
my
what the
God.
hell, man?
But I got his eye, though.
Yeah. Then he goes like, I got that man's eye.
That's
But it's just
true.
so funny because it's random. It's funny. It's a great movie. Adam Sandler obviously is good at that role, and there's so many parts. Right there, you could pull out of parts of Happy Gilmore for hours, just talking about this scene and that scene and this scene. You know, um, but you gotta admit though. You can't just be like, hey, this is the greatest golf movie ever.
No.
And somebody goes and watch that, they're gonna be like, what are you talking about?
But even I've never even seen Beggar Vance.
Yeah, which is a good one too.
There's some movies like I just haven't seen, and I
Right.
want to watch them. But it's like I start watching them, I'm like, I don't know if I need this right now. I don't, it's a little too emotional for me. Give me some Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore. Caddyshack.
Best golf movie, Caddyshack. Worst golf movie, Caddyshack 2.
Caddyshack 2.
That's right, Caddyshack 2.
Yeah, what movie is that from? I forget.
No, that was actually like a Sports Center commercial way back in the day.
Yeah, it was in something. I remember.
Chevy Chase looked at the script. He's like, I'm good.
But Caddyshack is great, right? I mean, you gotta love Caddyshack. I don't know if you guys ever seen Dead Solid Perfect with Randy Quaid. Really good golf movie. I'm surprised you haven't seen that, Derek. You're a big Randy Quaid fan. That's a good one though too. So Randy Quaid does a more serious kind of part there, but good movie. So let's see. So I think Wes. So you're the only Wes had the only one that had a golf on there. What about?
Well, I mean,
okay. So let's talk boxing.
Yeah.
Who has a boxing movie on theirs? I have a boxing. I have a boxing movie.
Let's have Derek start. I want to do Derek.
Yeah, Derek. Do we all have a boxing movie? Is that?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Well, my problem is picking which one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the original first Rocky movie because that's the origin. He doesn't win, but it's the true story. It's like not the true story, but it's showing an underdog, and he stands toe to toe with the champ.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because people, I don't think people actually ever watch the movie because everybody's like, "Oh, there's no way that he's gonna beat Apollo Creed." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," because he doesn't. Did you see the movie? It's so many times.
What?
It's so fake. It's so fake. Rocky can't just come out and win like that. And you're like, well, that's why he doesn't win. But it is. It's such a great story, right? For when you like talking underdogs. I do love how they end it. I do love though the build up. It's about. I think it's about taking a chance, right? It's about or taking an opportunity, like when you're given the opportunity, taking advantage. And how many times do we go through life missing those opportunities? and that's what makes it such a good movie, is that, it's just a guy who got his opportunity and took it. Yeah, gotta love Rocky. So I mean, it's mine. It's in my top five. I picked the same thing. I picked Rocky. Obviously, a tough choice. There's a lot of good boxing movies, but same reasons you said and the things I just laid out. I got Rocky there. What do you got, Wes? You got a boxing? What's your boxing? Is it all three?
Rocky 4, man. It's gotta be Rocky 4.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dude,
I mean,
it's gotta be Rocky 4. Hey,
man.
when I don't want to do.
Okay, so tell us why Rocky 4 is better than Rocky.
The soundtrack. Dude, it's the freaking soundtrack, dude. It's like, I don't want to get up in the morning. I don't want to go to the gym. It's like, oh, shoot, just turn on Rocky 4. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm good to go. Let's go.
You live in America.
You got to do
James
two
Brown.
things.
Even, I mean, Apollo, it's so hard to watch because, God, the Russian's going to kill Apollo, dude.
Right. And
It's like, and everyone's like happy. And then everything, it's like so pro-American. Like, everything about it is just like, and I was like, Apollo's gonna die. It's like, and then you're like, throw the towel, Rocky. Throw it. I mean, even the suspense. And he's like,
yeah, but do you remember the first time you saw it though, before you knew Paulo was gonna die? Dude, I was so disappointed.
Oh yeah.
Because here's the best part.
It was traumatizing. It was
Rocky
like
4. Rocky 4 was the first Rocky movie I ever saw.
Yeah. Me too.
Which might be why we like it so much, is because it would just had come out, or we had on VHS. That's all I know. And so it's the only Rocky movie we had, and it was the first Rocky movie I saw. And so I didn't know how big Apollo Creed was, for the first movies. But when he died, I was just like, what had happened? Like, this guy just died.
If he dies, he dies. You're like, what? Like, this is crap, dude.
I mean, I can get on the Rocky 4 train for sure, because it is a good movie. You love when he goes back to Russia. He's training in Russia, Yeah, running in the snow.
Old school training.
Yeah, and then the Russians in the gym with all the electronics and all the stuff, and you're like, no, man, Rocky. So I could definitely get on that.
And then Rocky's speech at the end.
Right.
If I could change, you can change.
We all could change.
Yeah. Right. We're like, I hope a bunch of Russians see this movie. I do.
Again. We need to set it out there.
Perfect for the times now.
Yeah. I do love Rocky 4. Hard for me to put above Rocky 1 now. But
I have an honorable mention that's a guilty pleasure one.
So many good boxing movies.
It's Diggstown.
Yeah. Love Diggstown. Love it.
If it's on TV, I watch that one.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
That's one of my favorites.
I've
seen that on TV. You know how many times I've seen Diggstown on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Because it used to be on all the time when we were growing up.
I like The Fighter.
Fighter's great.
I watch it a lot. It's always on. It's like this. It's so bad, but it's so good.
People love it. It gets great reviews and ratings. Like, people love The Fighter.
Yeah, it was up for Best Picture. I mean, it's good.
I mean, obviously, Raging Bull. If you're a movie fan, you love Raging Bull.
That movie's so hard to watch. So, like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. It's so hard to watch. I mean, it's really good, but
there's there's a couple other ones, like what's that one with Denzel plays in Hurricane? Hurricane's a good one. You already said The Fighter. That's a good one. Diggstown.
The Great White Hype.
God, it's so funny. The overhand right.
No, we're missing it. The new George Foreman movie is going to be the best one.
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
Oh, Creed.
George Foreman's coming out.
Creed was out. Creed's got
Creed.
coming up on 3. Creed 1 I thought was good. I don't know about Creed. Creed 2 is okay.
Creed was all right.
Um,
Creed was all right.
yeah, that was a good one. There's some really good like documentary style. I don't remember what it's called, but the one with about Ali and Foreman. That's a great documentary style movie. So there's lots
I
of good
like
boxing stuff.
I liked Ali. I just thought it could be better. It could have been better.
Oh, Will Smith, Ali,
But
yeah,
it was still good.
It was
yeah.
just too long too.
It was long. It was a little slow
Yeah,
in the sense that, and I don't know. I generally like Will Smith in most movies. I didn't think he did the greatest job in that one. But I've never really had anything bad to say about Will Smith's movies. Even there, and I don't think he was terrible. I don't think it was his best performance either. So yeah, boxing was a tough one. A lot of good boxing. So let's see. Well, I got one left. Wes, you probably got two left, right? Derek, you got one left.
Yeah.
So Wes, why don't you give us another one of yours?
Well, we're running out of sports. So I
You
guess
think that, but then all of a sudden a bunch of movies pop in your head.
Oh, there's tons. Yeah, tons.
I know.
There's hockey, there's
I don't want to say this.
ice skating, there's
Horse racing,
rugby, there's
diving.
yeah.
Apparently, there's horse diving. You guys ever see that
Oh
movie?
yeah, horse racing and
No, there's this movie
about horse diving.
where this girl's high diving with horses.
Oh god.
Right? I was like, I guess it was like set back in the early 1900s. There was like kind of a circus show where the horse ran up to a high dive and she jumped on the horse and they jumped into a big pool of water from like 40 feet up. I'm like, what is really? And like they used to do it. Like this is nuts. Um, come on, Wes. You gotta give us one.
I mean, I, I mean, dodgeball is not. I mean, dodgeball is all I can come up with.
It's on Ocho. It's on the
I mean, dodgeball is like one of my favorite movies. This is my top 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta love dodgeball. I mean that's just it's qualifies, right? Anything on ESPN. I mean poker.
It's on ESPN Ocho, but I mean,
you call Rounders a sports movie.
Yeah, because that's poker, yeah.
But if you could dodge a wrench, you can dodge a dodgeball. I do love I always enjoy a good Vince Vaughn movie. And dodgeball is good. I mean, it's still one of those like it qualifies the same way Happy Gilmore does for me. You know, it's not gonna pull on your heartstrings. It's not gonna give you a lot of plot.
But on that, and then the other one. All right, it's a sport. Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder. That's I don't know what it is.
It's stock car racing. Of course, it's a sport.
It's just I love that movie.
Yep. So
I don't know if I like it. I think it's because of Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall just makes the movie.
And he didn't do The Godfather Part 3 because of that movie.
I'll tell you, Wes. So this is number 5 on my list. Not in that particular order, but it's the 5th one for me is Days of Thunder. Because you can't get a better movie than Days of Thunder. You've got it all, right? You've got your love story, you've got your underdog, you've got your injury then you got the villain who became the friend to beat the other villain, and so Days of Thunder, it's well done. It's got a great storyline. It's got really good acting, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise doing that, but Robert Duvall kills it. But you got all the, even the guy who plays Big John, the NASCAR commissioner, and then the guy that plays Rowdy, like these guys, everybody does such a good job in that movie. And then it's exciting too, right? It's exciting to watch. The races are fun to watch. They don't dig into the racing too much, but they give you enough to be excited about watching the stock car races. And it's just made back in a time where they really put a lot of thought into movies, into the cinematography, into the storyline, and into all that how it plays together. And so, uh, Days of Thunder is a must watch. Like if you haven't seen Days of Thunder, if you haven't seen it in a while, it's just
Okay.
such a great movie.
Okay. And then I'm gonna round out my top 5 right now. Point Break. The first.
I mean,
It's a
technically
surfing movie.
Yeah,
It's a sport.
yeah, it is.
And
It
they
is.
play beach football.
And they play football. It's Johnny Utah, dude.
Well,
Quarterback from Ohio State.
and bank robbing's a sport too, right?
Well, just don't mention the remake.
Right.
No, I said no.
I know.
No, the remake isn't terrible, but
Yeah. I mean,
compared to the first one, no. Absolutely.
surfing obviously a sport. I think Point Break definitely applies as a sports movie. I would have been on my list if I would have thought of it.
But it was
Maybe
so.
I don't know if I would have made it top. That's tough. It could be top 5.
That movie should have been nominated, not win the Academy Award. Like Die Hard should have been nominated. That
Right.
movie should have been recognized. That movie is legit. But Patrick Swayze?
Kills.
I mean, tell me a better bad guy. It's bad, but you don't want to hate him because he's right.
No, he
He's
plays the
right.
good. He plays the good bad guy.
Yeah.
That's
The
a good
bad
one.
guy everybody loves to love. So Derek, what do you got for your 5th?
Well, so about an hour and a half ago, it was Days of Thunder. And then I started thinking about other sports. And then it was like, I got 2 other ones ahead of Days of Thunder now, but it's the Epiphany. It had 3 sequels. It has a hit TV show now. You got to go The Karate Kid.
Right.
Oh.
So yeah,
It's
Karate
the
Kid
best
was
around.
that was like 7th. So that was like the second to last one I took off. So you tell us why you got
Another
Karate
sports
Kid top 5.
underdog story. You've got kid who moves into town. He's kind of a loner, doesn't have many friends, befriends a girl whose hot-headed ex-boyfriend is not happy about him, bullies him around. So then he finds some mysterious guy that lives in his apartments to train him to go to a karate tournament.
Dude. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and you got the love story, you got the classic, it's that the same thing when you're talking about with Tin Cup. It's like the girl has to choose between the guys, right? So that always makes it that makes a second plot storyline, into every movie whenever you have that type of storyline, right? It's not just always like guy gets girl, because I don't know, when I watch movies and there's only like it's just a guy and a girl, you're like, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always better when you have, the competition, even though you still know it's going to happen, but it's
like
better.
30 years later, now the show is like one of the top shows.
Right. I don't know, but I mean, if you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, Barney would tell you differently that Ralph Macchio was the antagonist.
Well, that's in the first they
He
go
started
into
all the
that
fight.
into Cobra Kai. They kind of go into that.
He started all the fights.
Yeah. Now, my honorable mention, because we didn't go through it, because we didn't talk hockey at all.
Right.
There's one Disney one that's really good, but for me, the quintessential hockey movie is Slapshot.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen Miracle it's more of a documentary style movie.
Miracle's good. I like Miracle.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell's great, but
Yeah.
Slapshot is the movie for hockey.
Yeah, it's hard to beat Slapshot. Mighty Ducks. You like those type of movies, but when you're talking about a real, actual hockey movie, Slapshot is definitely up there. It would be my number one hockey movie easily.
Happy Gilmore could count.
Happy, it could be both. There wasn't. So yeah, I had Karate Kid up there, as a kind of a different. But there's no other karate movies, to compare it against. It's not like you're like I gotta slim down
Bloodsport.
these. So I did
Oh.
think about Bloodsport. One of the lists I look at had Bloodsport rated as the number one sports movie, which is interesting. So I mean, you had like Friday Night Lights, you had like Bloodsport. Uh, there was another. The other one was they had Bad News Bears as the best baseball movie.
Well, if we're talking the 7 Walter Matthau ones, then that's a great.
No, the original, the original, because that's like 1976.
Yeah, that's a great.
Right, but the best baseball movie. Like you're gonna put the Bad News Bears ahead of like every other baseball movie.
The Natural. I mean, a lot of people like The Natural would be.
Well, we didn't even talk about. I mean, you've seen 42. That was a great movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Or even
love that movie.
This one was just an HBO movie at 61.
Yeah, the 61
race for home run race. That was a great movie.
There's so many. There's so many of I haven't seen.
Yeah. I found quite a few as I was looking through some stuff that I haven't seen, which is interesting. So I got a nice little list of things and then a couple that you've seen it once. Like when I was looking at boxing movies, I remember I saw $1 Million Baby when it came out, but I haven't watched it since. And like I was reading about it and all the stuff about it, I was like, man, I gotta watch this again. Like,
I will say I've never seen it, but it's because I know the ending and it pisses me off.
Right. It sucks. But you're still talking about the best actor or best actress, best supporting actor, best picture, best director, like every Oscar you can win, I mean,
I just don't like people who give up.
Yeah. But there's a lot of movies I ran into like that as I was looking through to try to kind of figure out, what my top 5 was, looked at different sports. It was and so here, I'll just break down my top 5. And we'll go through your top 5. So I got Remember the Titans, I got Rocky, I got Days of Thunder, I got He Got Game, and I got A League of Their Own. So for choosing one of each genre, I would say those are movies that I don't think a lot of people have seen enough of and need to watch more of.
Or are we doing it in any order or?
Yeah, just any order you want, doesn't matter.
And I had Major League, White Men Can't Jump, The Program, The Karate Kid, and Rocky.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny because you got some comedy into your movies.
Yeah.
You think about White Man Can't Jump and Major League.
I was like trying to find volleyball movie. There's a volleyball movie. I can't think of the name.
Side Out.
Yeah, that's it. Side Out.
C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah,
dude. Love that movie.
Good.
And I hate to say it, soccer movie. I found one.
Ladybugs.
Well, that's good. Bend It Like Beckham.
Oh, yeah, Bend It Like Beckham. Isn't there another one like Invictus?
No, that's rugby.
Oh, is it? That's rugby. Yeah, but yeah, I know Bend It Like Beckham, but that's not like a movie. That's more one of those documentary style.
It's got like Keira Knightley in it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
but yes, Ladybugs.
Ladybugs.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh man.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
I forgot. Wes, you thinking the same thing as me?
No, go ahead. There's something, yeah.
Back to school.
That's it.
Oh,
Diving.
yeah, the diving.
Diving. Sorry. Okay.
The triple Linder.
The triple Lindy.
The program is off. Back to school is in.
Back to school is in. Yeah.
The triple
Well,
Lindy.
you got to have. I mean, you obviously like the comedy in your sports, so it makes sense to sub those.
The triple Linding.
Well, you look, and you got William Zabka, and that was also the villain.
Oh,
in
okay.
Yeah, that poor guy.
And you had Robert Downey Jr. when he was on a bunch of drugs already.
Right. And when Rodney Dangerfield was funny, that was a great movie. It's interesting because you can go real deep to like sports and in sporting movies. Like I saw that when I was like I saw some bigger lists and I was you start looking at some of those, you're like, yeah, that's a stretch. But you know you can always make that connection in some of those, so that's fun. Wes, you have a top 5 for us?
I mean, it's like Rudy, Moneyball.
What did you say? You
Tin
said Rudy,
Cup.
you said
Tin
Moneyball,
Cup.
Tin Cup, Rocky
And
4,
Point Break.
and Point Break. So you're subbing in Point Break for dodgeball.
Yeah.
So Point Break, Rocky 4, Tin Cup, Moneyball, Rudy. Yeah, those are all real good movies. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. So good stuff. Well, appreciate you guys listening. If you guys have any comments about our picks or movies, I love to hear movies that I should watch. So those are great comments. And if you catch this part of the podcast, if you can handle listen to us this long, give us some movie picks. I'd love to hear them. And then anything
we're
you
coming
want to
into
hear.
a lull here, so we're gonna need some sports movies to watch.
We need some sports movies to watch to keep us busy, and some sports topics, right? Because it's with March Madness ending, at least we got the Masters. And then you got basketball. I mean, obviously baseball's just starting up. I watched a couple baseball games, and even with the faster pitching stuff, they're still slow. uh, although, what was I watching? I was watching the Angels and the Mariners game. I think it was, yeah, Angels and Mariners. There was some good hitting late in the game, scored some runs, so it wasn't too bad. The funniest was, I don't know if you guys saw the video of the guy. I don't know what stadium's at, but he's
But the
just
guy
like,
was proposing.
no, this
No.
guy's just out after the game. He's walking on the stadium. He's just taking a leak in the middle of the floor, and this guy's recording him. He's like, "Must be opening day." Oh, it's hilarious.
Well, did you see the guy that proposed to his girlfriend?
Oh yeah, just got slammed by security.
Yes.
Like, what a bunch of jerks.
No way, man. You can't be coming on that field. You're gonna get
Yeah, you don't gotta hit him that hard. Dude's down on a knee. It's not like you're chasing him down. He's not running away from you.
God,
the dude literally comes in.
I didn't see it.
You haven't seen it? It's awesome.
No, I didn't freaking see it.
There's no reason to hit him that hard. He's not running away. He's down on his knee. It's like MMA.
Hey, you know what? It's a sign. He's like, don't do it.
Yeah. I thought it was a little excessive, to be honest with you. I get it, it's your job, and you shouldn't run on the field, dude. But there's no reason just to like murder the guy, because that was a hard hit.
It was awesome.
Like he hit him hard.
Don't be trespassing on the field and making Steve have to wait longer for a game.
Right. Yeah, definitely extends the game time.
Well, what's nice is he only got banned for a year.
Right.
Usually stuff like that, they ban you for life.
Yeah, but he probably got like 4 broken ribs. A concussion. Yeah, he's like has to postpone his wedding now. Yeah, that was brutal though. If you haven't seen that one, that's a fun one to watch. All right. Any final thoughts to wrap up here?
Yeah, just an interesting week with the Masters coming up, and then
Yeah, it's
NFL draft.
Great basketball tournament, fun to watch this year.
Yeah,
I know it didn't do that great, but it was still exciting to see some of the top teams lose and some new fresh blood in there. That was cool. And then
I think it is. It's nice because it always is like, oh, okay, it's gonna be these people. Although UConn is a blue blood.
yeah, right.
They are, yeah.
They were
They
still
are.
rated
And
pretty low though.
they should not have been a 4 seed. And halfway through I started watching UConn probably in early February. It's when they got out of their stupid slump, and I was like, they're good. Like they're going to be in the Final Four probably.
Then why didn't you pick them on any of your 25 brackets, Wes?
Well, that's we think
Some were auto picked.
We talked about. No, I did. I picked them. The problem is I didn't pick all the 64 and 32s on the auto draft, and so I got killed. Even if I had UConn winning, I was like 20%. So I picked them 3 times to win out of 25.
Well,
awesome.
It was so bad. I had 730 points, right? And I was in the top 96%.
Oh yeah, I saw a bracket. I saw a bracket at 1,000 points was like 98 percentile. So if you had 1,000, 1,100, you were in that top 1-2%. That was crazy. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.